Hello there, everybody. This is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I made for the Confessions of a Paper Addict Cut Files, 20 Days of Christmas and Summer Cut Files. Today is day 16, and the prompt for today is Title Cut File. I'm using one of the beautiful cut files from the Confessions of a Paper Addict Etsy shop, and it's called Summer. I'm using a Simple Stories collection. It's called Hello Summer, and I'm making a frame as a border for my layout. This is something that I do all the time. I did it this time not to conserve paper, but because I wanted those stripes to be all around the outside. I wanted you to be able to see all the colors on all four sides. So I cut out 1-inch strips of this beautiful striped paper. I attached 2 strips of paper down to the background, and then I took another strip of paper and I folded the corners down to make a 45-degree angle. And then I used that piece of paper as a template for the other paper, and then I attached them down and it created this frame. Then I cut a piece of white cardstock down to 11 by 11 inches. And then I cut this piece of pattern paper slightly smaller. And then this is the cut file. I've already backed it with the same paper collection. I use some embossing folders, which is something that I very rarely do, but I like the idea of adding a little bit of extra texture to the letters. And I hadn't used embossing folders in so long that I kind of forgot what the sandwich was to use with the die cutting machine, but I finally figured it out. And so I was really happy with that texture that the embossing folders added. I really should use those embossing folders a little bit more often. Now my photo is going to sit in the middle between the 2 parts of the title, so I wanted to place it on a banner. So I cut a thin banner out of the same cardstock, or it's not cardstock, it's pattern paper that I used in the background. The flip side is this very pretty coral paper that I feel goes really well with this collection. There aren't too many solids in this paper collection, so I sometimes add in other papers from other collections when I want to have some solids on the layout. I attached my photo down. This is a photo of my 2 daughters several years ago. We were on Martha's Vineyard, and my husband was taking a look at some of the places where the movie Jaws was filmed, and so we were standing by the water, and so I snapped a picture of the girls with the water behind them. I backed both the banner and the photo with some white cardstock. When I'm using a cut file that I've cut out of white paper, I often like to have white borders on the page. I feel like it kind of brings the whole layout together. I decided that the photo was just a little bit too big, so instead of ripping that white paper off the back of it, I just trimmed down that border. I trimmed it off, but left the paper there, and then I mounted the photo again on some more white paper. I wanted to create another layer on the banner, and I'm using some of this pretty yellow sun paper for that. And I'm again mounting this banner on some white paper as well. For some reason, I only have 1 sheet of this particular paper, so I didn't make the strip going all the way across because I don't really have a lot of this paper, but it looks as if it goes all the way across the paper. So I attached those little pieces of banner down, and I like the way that layering looks. I think that it adds a nice touch to the banner. And now I'm going to add some flowers on either side. One of them is a die cut from the die cut pack for this collection, and the other one was fussy cut out of one of the pattern papers. I add a little die cut on the top that says hot, hot, hot. And then on the bottom, I'm adding a die cut that says this way for summer fun. Now I'm adding some photo corners to the photo. I'm using an EK Success photo corner punch, and I punched out some photo corners in a black and white dot. And then I also punched out the same photo corners in black, and I thought that I would layer the black and white ones on top of the black photo corners, and that would just make the photo corners a little more noticeable and have a little bit of dimension. So I attached all those down. I was happy with those flower die cuts and fussy cut pieces, so I attached those down to the page. And I was feeling that this layout called for a little something more in the background. And of course, it would have been a lot easier to add splatters before I attached everything down, but sometimes this is just how the layout progresses. So I decided that I would just be really careful and I would splatter some white paint in some of the areas where the background is visible. And I did some splattering, but then I also went in and I dotted some of the white paint on the background in spots that I knew I wouldn't be able to splatter without making a big mess. And I do like this little addition to the background. I just think that it adds kind of a random element and a little interest to the page. As I was dotting the paint around, I was thinking that it would be nice if some of the dots were just a little bit bigger. So I went in and I just picked a few spots on the layout and I made slightly larger dots of paint or splatters of paint, even though they're not splattered. And I think that that adds a little bit of something too. Although it does take a little bit of time to back a cut file, I feel that once the cut file is backed, the layouts do come together rather quickly. And I like that because I normally spend a long time on each layout. Once I'm all finished putting all those dots and splatters on the background, I add a few finishing touches. I add a piece of epoxy to the camera, and then I wanted to add some fairly large enamel dots to the banner that's on the layout. And then I wanted to add some tiny enamel dots to the photo corners. So I picked out some enamel dots in yellow, blue, and orange, and I added those to the 3 visible photo corners. And now I'm going to add one more touch to the layout. I wanted to put a detail around the outside of the layout. So I'm using this knockout punch. It's a scallop, and I really like it because it is very fine and delicate. I punched out 4 pieces and I'm going to be putting those all around where that white border is. So I'm not worrying about lining anything up because I'm going to put some fussy cut flowers over those corners. So I'm just being approximate and cutting those strips down to size. I had this tab Summer Story on the layout, and then I decided I was going to take it off, and then I moved it over to the right of the M because I didn't like the way the dots looked. They were just drawing the eye. They were just too large. Now I'm adding those fussy cut flowers. I cut them out of the paper that was just on the left side of the layout that I just whisked away. And I think that those flowers give the corners a finished look. Oh, I forgot. I added 3 dots. These are some clear dots in 3 different sizes. I added those right near the mouth of the fish. And now I'm using a little bit of white paint just to cover up a couple of areas on the cut file that got a little funky when I was working with the glue. And that is the last thing that I do on this layout. And I wanted to thank you so much for watching. Here are some close-ups of the layout. I hope that you're enjoying this series. If you take a look in the description box, you'll find links to the channels of all the other scrapbookers who are creating layouts using these beautiful Confessions of a Paper Addict cut files. And I wanted to mention that if you see any cut files that you like, the Confessions of a Paper Addict Etsy shop is having a sale, 25% off through the 20th. So this is a great time to pick up any cut files that you like. I hope that everybody has a great day, and I will see you again soon with another layout. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.